Hello, everyone. This is Socrates with the Hyperwave YouTube channel. Today, we are going to be taking a close look at Bitcoin, looking at this recent dip to see if that was the bottom or if it looks like there is another leg down on the way. Could be tricky to tell, but we will be doing our best today. I did send Tyler a link, hoping that he would be able to join us, but he still is overseas. Will be for another couple days, so I'm not really expecting him to hop on, but maybe he will before concluding this afternoon. I will do my best to keep this one brief, but that is not necessarily my area of expertise. I am more better at rambling on and going on rants and tangents. So bear with me if that happens. But until then, we will do our best to keep this concise and to cover everything that is important. Without anything else being said, let's go ahead and share the screen and jump into the charts. Starting with Bitcoin. Man, the volatility lately has just been incredible. I just absolutely love the volatility, even if I may not be capitalizing on all of it. It's still just incredible to see the price moving in such large ways. We're talking 25% moves in just a couple days up and down. So that is very exciting and will give us plenty to talk about. And yesterday, I was looking at this and outlining some buy zones down in this area and even a little lower. Mentioned that it could find support here, but I wasn't necessarily interested in buying it. We did have this trend line here, which the price did find support at. And that was the one indicator saying that that, along with the 50 EMA on the 4-hour, love seeing these line up because this is often what you will get, where the 50 the EMA tries to support the price, and if it doesn't, then the trend line is right there, kind of has his back, and each time that the price breaks down the EMA, the trend line is there coming in strong as support, pushing it back above the EMA. So that's something that I really like to see, these in line with each other. But I wasn't interested in buying there. I really thought that a more significant correction was on the way, and very well still could be, based on how far we have run from April up to here, that without any sort of correction, the most correction we've really gotten is just sideways action, which even had like higher highs and kind of higher lows in some points. So we really haven't had a correction as the price has moved from under 4,000 to above 13,800. That's, over 450% increase without any real corrections. There has been consolidations, which are kind of healthy, but we haven't seen the full-on correction that we're used to seeing. 35 to 40% is the kind of ballpark that most people expect. Now that many are expecting that, maybe we will get something different, either a little less or a little more. So I was looking at right in here. I wanted this horizontal, this EMA, the 200 EMA on the 4-hour, and this bottom trend line, which weighted at around 9,000. That is where I was going to be very interested in buying. And that is based on the moving average and the trend line and the horizontals. I believe there's also a weekly SAR right around there. So a lot of confluence of support in this area. and it also would be about a 40% correction. If we do some quick calculations, we'll use 13,900 minus 9,000. Gives us 4,900 divided by 13,900. That's a 35% correction right here. So everything was really kind of adding up for me in the sense that we could and maybe even should get a sharp correction down to the bottom of this trend line, the 200 EMA. On the 4-hour, and that's also likely where we will see the 50-day EMA is starting to slither right along this trend line. So that was absolutely an area that I was and am very interested in buying. And there may, so let's look at the other and the other perspective in the sense that what if this was the bottom and it's not going to return back down here? How likely is that? And if so, what is my plan of action? So let's zoom in a little bit. Posted a chart on Twitter yesterday evening, and it looks like the target just got hit. We had this falling wedge on the 15-minute chart, which was pretty interesting to me. Let's see here. Probably should just pull up the tweet that's already got all the targets and everything, but oh well, we'll just do it this way. So falling wedge, that's a bullish pattern, bullish kind of reversal pattern. If you break out of the top of this wedge, then the measured move is determined based on the low of the left hand start of the wedge to the high of the top right part of the wedge. In this case, the start was at 12,500 about, and the top was at 13,900. So that is that $1,400? I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to make sure. 13,900 minus 12,500, $1,400 move that would be measured from right here when we broke out. So we would go, this price is 11,100 plus 1,400 is 12,500. Is that correct? Yeah, for some reason I thought it was 12,400. So maybe double check this yourself. I'm doing it all live. And yesterday when I tweeted, I think I remember it being 12,400. So this was an area where I was looking for a bounce. We had sold off sharply and we had formed this falling wedge. I don't like patterns on small time frames. I don't really like anything on small time frames unless the markets are really moving fast. When the markets are moving fast, I just feel like I have to zoom in to be able to see anything. Like this is a important sort of pattern to me. When the markets are moving this fast, they've sold off about 25% in about 24 hours, maybe a little bit more. Just seeing a bunch of these 4-hour red candles really doesn't do much. I mean, you can look for like a red 9, but outside of that, we're looking for these wicks to indicate reversals, and none of them did. Price just kept breaking down. I mean, it was moving fast. In those sort of circumstances, I am liking the 15-minute chart. I like the 30-minute chart as well. And that's what I was looking at here as, okay, we've been moving fast. Now we've broken out of this wedge. Could we reach this target? And I think we just did at 12,400. That was the area that I was looking at. Posted on Twitter and TradingView that this would be the next sort of move that I thought was most likely. And from there, what did I expect? Shoot, let's just pull this up real quick. And we're going to have to reload it. Thank you guys for hanging tight. And this says short, but there's really no option for sell. I was more talking about selling here, taking profit. I wasn't really talking about shorting. So yesterday, you guys might have remembered me talking about the ABC correction and how you don't really want to sell the A. You want to wait for, so going back and forth here. So here was the A from yesterday, A correction. You don't want to sell that. You really want to sell the B, or the breakdown of support here that the A had, maybe even both. So that is something that will happen on every time frame. At least you should expect it to. Basically, an ABC correction on the 15-minute chart doesn't necessarily mean that you won't get an ABC correction on the 4-hour chart. And in fact, both should be expected. So I was really kind of looking at this as the A move from 13.9 down to 10.4 on the 4-hour. I'm looking at this as A, and then a move back up into the 12,000 area as B, and then a sell-off down to the bottom of this. It's kind of like a broadening channel, we'll call it. Sell off back down to here, which is where I said I was very interested in buying. Also was looking at the ADX here and seeing the daily. Each time we had made a move, the ADX had created a lower high, and it looked like coming up on that trend resistance right now. Basically, we'll go ahead and take a look at that. But that is what I was looking at, was the falling wedge to lead to a bounce, which would give us the B wave in the 4-hour ABC correction. Excuse me, this is the daily chart. I've been saying 4-hour. This is the daily. Still same thing in the sense that the 4-hour needed A, B, C. So neither the 4-hour or the daily had gotten the B move as of yesterday, and that's what I was expecting to see. And when I woke up this morning, I was really expecting to be selling a lot of spot Bitcoin and maybe even going net short. I was really thinking that this could be a great opportunity if we get a B wave up to the $12,000 territory. That could provide a very low risk and significant reward sort of trade. So that's what I woke up thinking. I've got spot Litecoin and spot ETH that are at a very a lower price than we are at now, because I've been taking profit along the way, and they're very safe. But I still want to get out if I think a next big wave is coming down. So when I woke up this morning, I really thought that I'm going to be selling Bitcoin, ETH, and Litecoin, and then maybe even going short if everything plays out as I want to. And now I am not. I haven't done any of that, and I'm going to show why. I actually got some buy signals today, which really are intriguing me in the sense that it's following a significant correction, and nobody else around really seems to be interested in buying these levels. So that's something that really kind of makes me perk up. And since I'm getting buying signals that are surprising me, and I was planning on selling today, essentially. So instead of taking the buy signals, I am just holding on to my spot and waiting for further development. So let's start by zooming out back to the 4-hour. So notice that right in here, this is buying signals for me. We had price testing the trend line. Just because it's a buy signal doesn't necessarily mean I'm taking it. As I mentioned yesterday, I did not take this, but it was a buy signal based on how I trade. We had a moving average, a trend line, and a sharp correction into that, which is right here, closing back above. This is where I would be looking at entering right here. And then I would be looking at adding with a close above this short-term moving average, which I would expect to be roughly in line with a parabolic SAR breakthrough. Roughly is about right. It's not as close as I would expect to see. So right here, we got the close above the short-term moving average. I might have, if I was taking these signals, which I did not, I would have liked to enter here. And then this close above the 9 EMA, I would have waited probably because of these parabolic SARs. I would have wanted to see a parabolic SAR breakthrough, and then also would have looked for a little confirmation with a 4 EMA crossover. So notice how these things will tend to come in at roughly the same time, and that's what I really like to see, is multiple signals lining up. So we get close above 9 EMA. We're waiting because the SAR is still up here. Another close above. Now we might be starting to add because we get this cross, just depending on how I feel, what everything's going on. Getting this cross might be the confirmation that I need to add. Maybe I wait for a close above this horizontal. Maybe I wait for a full-on SAR breakthrough. All of those are very, very reasonable. And I did not take them, like I said, because I wasn't interested in buying here. I didn't think that was the bottom. I thought we were going to dip below 5 figures on that move, and I still kind of do think that as the most likely. So looking at this as a full picture, what are the most likely outcomes from here? I see 2 that are most likely, and one would be a nice big W. So again, this isn't a prediction. This is just telling you what I think is the most likely outcome from here. I always like to look at a bullish and a bearish perspective so that I'm not have my head in the sand, so that I'm not so focused on the one side of the trade. I like to always be thinking about how could this thing continue up from here, and how could this thing continue down from here, and how it could continue up from here. I wouldn't think it would keep going straight up. I think it will. I think there'll be some resistance around 12.4, and I think it will cause the price to fall back below 12,000, probably back into the 11.5 area or so for a retest of the 50 EMA. If that holds and these same kind of buy signals come through, 50 EMA holds, you get closes above, I'll be watching the trend line, we'll be watching these moving averages, we'll be watching the parabolic SAR, and generally these entries are ones that I like to kind of avoid a little bit in favor of waiting for a higher low kind of pullback. The V sort of bottom is not really something that I like to trade. Like, that's just something that if it happens, I'm going to miss out a little bit and have a smaller position. So right here, having not taken these really isn't a problem to me, because I would really expect to get another chance to buy around in here to basically take the same signals of 50 EMA and the trend line holding as support, getting back above the 9 EMA with the cross. If that happens again over here, then it would be ready to come back and retest these kind of highs, to test the top of this channel, which is much more clear from the daily chart. So let's pull that back up. So right in here, if we can come back and support this 11.3, I think that we would be in for another leg up. Could we just keep going up from here? Of course. And why I would see that as a reasonable option is because these crossovers that we're getting on the 15-minute chart, this is very important to me. basically, you might remember that this is what I was using to exit, got out around in here. And what I would expect is after a prolonged run with this being bullish for 7 days, 8 days or so, with only a very small peek through back in here, and a bullish for a long time before, this is where this is really surprising me. I wasn't expecting these to recross. I thought that once they crossed bearish, that we should be in for a significant correction, because we haven't had these in a bearish posture for a very long time. And when they cross bearish and very shortly after recross bullish, that's what I can call like a peek through. It just peeks through and tests down here, sees if it can maintain this bearish posture. And when it can't, that is very strong to me. Kind of like we see back in here. It had been on a strong run for a long time, bullish for a while. And then when it tried to go bearish, it just failed. It tried, but it just really resisted and refused to maintain bearish there. So, and then we see a big continuation to the upside. So that's kind of what I'm wondering about here is this going to be able to maintain this golden cross? If it can, that will be very important to me and kind of will suggest that we might just keep going straight up from here in a kind of ridiculous fashion. So that's something that I'm keeping a close eye on. Also, the 30-minute is very interesting. Both of them failed to hold a bearish crossover and almost instantly recrossed. Both of these right here are just tremendous buy signals for me. I love seeing the price consolidate on top of the 200 while it gets across. This isn't pulling back and into. This is actually what I prefer, which is like a breakthrough, a consolidate above while it crosses, and the price just stays right here, letting you accumulate basically as much as you want. Same thing kind of happened on the 15-minute. Breakthrough, consolidate above. Don't have as much time to accumulate after the golden cross, but you probably could have seen it coming. If you see in this price get higher lows. This is rapidly approaching. You got plenty of time to get as much fills as you want. So that 15-minute and 30-minute is right in line with the 4-hour buy signals that were coming in off of the moving average crossover and the parabolic SARs. So that's something that to me is very interesting. And I kind of had a hard time not buying. The only reason I really didn't is because I've got so much exposure in my spot portfolio already that I felt comfortable just holding on to that and hoping this keeps going up. But seeing all those buy signals come through at the same time on the 4-hour, on the 30-minute, and on the 15-minute, that's exactly what I love seeing. When all the time frames are lining up and every time frame is showing you a bullish trend, and the shorter time frames are showing that it recently just flipped back to bullish, that is kind of like a slam dunk. That's what I want to see. That's when the market's ready to move, is when all of the trends are in the same direction. Every single trend. If we look at the 1-hour, it didn't even get close to reversing. Didn't get very close. Came down, tested this 200, and gave us some buy signals down in here, and then to add back up in here. So the 1-hour is bullish all the way down to the 3-minute, went bearish and then came back bullish. So when every single time frame is bullish and the shorter time frames are just turning bullish, that's something that is very intriguing to me. And if I didn't have as much exposure as I do, I would probably be buying spot here. I don't like leverage longs here because the risk reward isn't great. I'd have to be risking like 20%, which isn't where I want to enter into leverage positions. I want my leverage positions to carry very little risk, which I'd be very interested in doing if this action happens here. So if we do pull back and kind of retest this for support, retest the 50 EMA, retest the trend line, now we're back in an area where the risk is much more reasonable, maybe more in like the 5% range, where something like a 10x leverage position would become quite attractive, since my stop loss would be inside my liquidation price. So that's just kind of how I'm thinking. All the time frames flipping bullish really is making me want to say the most likely outcome is this, or even just this, which would be kind of silly, but could definitely happen. So that's what the short-term, medium, and long-term trends are telling me to say is most likely, but my gut just doesn't want to believe it. And often the best trades will happen when you simply don't want to believe what the charts are showing you or what the technicals are saying. So that it's something where I still do think the most likely outcome is returning to here. Back down to 9,000. I do think I want to give that 55, 60%. I can't be too confident because what the trends are telling me, and until, as long as we're above this 50 EMA, I should probably be betting with, like, saying that the most likely is continuing up. But you know what does it really matter if I say what's most likely if I'm not taking a trade? It really doesn't matter just a whole lot to me. So instead of saying what I think is most likely, I want to just outline the different options, because sometimes it's just not best to be making calls. Like if I'm going to be doing a podcast on a daily basis, I don't want to be making calls every single day. That's flat out irresponsible. If I'm making calls every day, that means I am making projections when I flat out don't know. For me, one of the best attributes of a trader is being able to say flat out, I don't know. Like, just flat out, I don't know what's going to happen here. Traders need to be able to do that. And if you're following people that aren't admitting they don't know and saying that I don't want to make a projection here, then that's something maybe you should reconsider. It's a very fine balance where I don't want to just say, oh, it's 50-50. I want to try to give some guidance and some outlook, but I really do not want to be irresponsibly making predictions every single day just for the sake of it. I used to make a daily update on TradingView, and that's basically one of the main reasons I quit doing a daily update, was because I started feeling like I had to make some sort of prediction. Like I think that this is most likely, and that it didn't benefit me, and I don't think it benefited any of the readers. So going off on a little tangent here, I want to outline what I think is most likely and what I want to prepare for without making a prediction. So if you see multiple options, one going up, one going down, one going sideways, then realize that I don't know where it's going. I'm just trying to prepare. I'm trying to prepare mentally and also financially, in terms of if I'm needing to buy in the next 24 hours, then I need to mentally be in that mind state, opposed to yesterday when I was thinking I'm needing to sell today, wanting to sell this bounce. I needed to mentally be in that mind state. And the only way I was able to do that was by looking at all these different options. So that's just a tangent to basically the moral of the story here is I really don't know. And I don't want to make even a 51% prediction, because there's so many reasons that either could happen. And when I'm in a situation where I really don't know, I'm going to be preparing for multiple outcomes, and I am going to be doing my best not to make a prediction. So hopefully you guys can understand where I'm coming from and respect that point of view. So that is what we're looking at today. And the option that, as of maybe 3 hours ago, before we got the golden cross on the 15 and the 30-minute charts, I thought that this was by far the most likely. I'm thinking this is like 65, 70% chance. And that has changed drastically now that we got those golden crosses on the 15 and 30-minute. If those don't recross very shortly and they start to spread out, then these are going to be the most likely options. So this right here, we're kind of seeing a bear flag in the sense that we've got a sell-off into support, a bounce back up. Let's see how much it retraced. It'd be awesome if it was right around the 0.618. Oops, I started from the wrong end. Okay. That one was from the wrong end. Apologize for that. Okay, here we go. And yes, I'm seeing right here around the 0.618. And that is what I like to see on a kind of bear flagging pattern, is that it doesn't retrace beyond this 0.618. If it does get beyond this, that is a significant indicator of bullish continuation. This number is 12,533, 0.618 fib. And basically can look at a measured move, swing target, saying from this high at about 13.9 to this low at 10.3. If we use that as a swing target, we notice that it takes us right down to the ideal area that I am looking to enter, right at 8,800. So, like I said, even about an hour ago, I thought that this was about 70%, 65% at least, most likely. And now, seeing that price smash through the 9 EMA, got a bullish cross with the 4, and has gotten golden crosses with the 50 and 200 on every single time frame. Now I gotta say that that this action here, that continuing up to retest here, is the most likely. But like I said, I don't have to say that, because I don't need to necessarily make a prediction. If I'm really trying my hardest to make a prediction, I'm not going to be benefiting anybody. So in this situation, I think that the two most likely by far are going to be right here and right here. This continuing straight, this dotted arrow that just goes straight from here up to 14, to me is very unlikely. I'd give that like 10%. Like I said, I just really never plan for these V's. I never expect them. When they happen, they catch me off guard. And anytime I try to plan for these, anytime I think that this is coming, it never does. So I just always try to avoid that type of action in terms of planning for it or preparing for it or trading for it. So if this does happen, I would think it would be about a 5 or 10% chance. And from there, I would be looking for kind of a cup and handle, like a V type of cup and handle, like we got on the stock market very recently with that V action. So that's what I'd be looking for there. But I think that's very low likelihood. I think the most likely are going to be these two options here. If this happens, I'm going to be a buyer at 88, especially if it happens soon, in the next couple days, like this angle would suggest. If this happens here, where we come up and retest the 14 area, I think this would be a great selling opportunity. Reason why is I would from there expect about a month of consolidation. Take a look at kind of what happened here. We tanked off, not as near as much of a blow off top, but still very similar. And then it finds trend support, comes up, creates a new high, and then comes back down, consolidates for a long time. Same thing happened here. Not nearly as much as a blow off top, but still you can get the same picture. Comes up, comes back down, and then drags up to make a new high, and then before coming back down to retest the 50 and consolidate for a while. So if this does happen right here, I'm going to be selling it, probably in a big way, and expecting to kind of just buy back down around here at the 11,000 to 10,000, thinking that we're just going to range for about a month before continuing to the upside. If this happens, I'll be buying it. If this happens, this V action, probably going to be selling that. But that, I don't know, because that V, that would be so strong. If we get the V after this blow off top, that would be probably making me think we're going to continue higher. So this is really what I like to do when I don't know what's happening, is I'm looking at all sorts of options and then just going through my mind mentally, like what would I do if this happened? Would I sell this, or would this maybe be buy? What about here? What about here? So as long as I am mentally prepared for this, and this, or even just some sideways where it doesn't get either, I'm mentally prepared for all that. Now I'm ready. I'm in ready position. I am ready for anything. And when as long as I can't be surprised, then the likelihood of me making a mistake goes way down. When mistakes are made, it's because you get caught off guard and you think that this thing has to keep going up. It has to keep going up. It has to keep going up, and then it doesn't, and you're like, holy crap, what do I do now? Or you think it has to keep coming down. I'm selling everything here and I'm going to buy it all back here. I just know that this is coming down. It's been such a long run up here. If that's what you're focused on, now this happens and you're just totally left there with your pants around your ankles. So that is what I want to make sure doesn't happen. And the best way I found to do that is looking at it from every angle, bull, bear, or chop, and then drawing out different sort of options, and then mentally going through each and saying, how likely is this? How likely is this? How likely is this? And if each of these happens, what am I going to be doing? Seeing that this to me would be a clear sell, whereas this wouldn't nearly as much. That's a huge difference. There's really isn't. It's the same price. To be prepared to do to sell or hold at the same price based on how it gets there. Now that is going to be very beneficial for me instead of just reacting once one of these happens. So hopefully that kind of helps you guys visualize things the way that I do. I know that some people just flat out can't stand having multiple projections. And if you're that type of person, maybe you should consider why you have such a problem with that. When do you get yourself in the most trouble? Is it when you are failing to consider other alternatives? Because for me, this is a very important exercise, and hopefully you guys can agree. We are about 40 minutes in. I could wrap it up right now, but there's so much fun stuff to talk about that if it goes too long, you guys can just log off and go on about your day. And for those that want to continue listening, let's take a look at some alts. Okay, so what I've been paying close attention to over the last couple days is this ETH BTC pair. And basically what we're looking at is a potential breakdown of a major support. Notice the descending triangles that have occurred. Back in 2016, we got a nice descending triangle. When these occur, everybody likes to think that this is the bottom because you're at horizontal support, keeps holding, you're consolidating into a tight range, and it looks like you might start getting some higher lows. Everybody gets real excited thinking this is the bottom, and it almost never is. Dumps out hard. Just what happened on Bitcoin. Everybody thought it was the bottom at 6K. It was a descending triangle that basically every time it bounced from horizontal support, got a lower high, until eventually support broke down and it dumped. So here, it looked like it might avoid the same fate as it had in 2016. It broke through to the top, to the upside. And appeared as though maybe support held enough for this to be the bottom and for it to continue rallying up. I know almost everybody thinks that this is the bottom. Who on Twitter has been saying to sell alts at these prices? Absolutely nobody. I mean, everybody thinks that this is the bottom. So that is something that I pay very close attention to. And when this broke out right here on this candle, I started to think that, yeah, maybe everybody's right, and maybe we're going to get another big alt season. I started looking at ETH USD. It had a massive bull flag, just getting a golden cross, the 50 and 200 day. It was starting to look very bullish. Bitcoin had taken off, and I in here was going long based on how I trade. So right here, like I said, busting through the 200, and this kind of pulls back and into it, kind of just consolidates on top after a recent cross. Was looking my chops at this, and I probably shouldn't have been because this was a major bear market, and I am looking at timing an entry on the 4-hour chart. Should have waited. Look at how well the daily has been working. Each of these spikes have just perfectly resisted. I mean, if I was bearish, which I easily could have been, I would have been looking to sell these 200 EMA retests. That's what I buy these in bull markets. In bear markets, I look to sell them. And you can see why here. This has just been working like a dream. And then right here, I would have gotten very scared because this looks very bullish. This kind of rounding bottom, squeezing in between the 50 and the 200 after breaking through a trend line. That looks quite bullish, and I can be excused for longing here on the 4-hour because this daily sure looked like it was ready to pop. And when it does, when these alts move, sometimes like back in here, they'll move so far before the golden cross comes that you really do need to be on your toes to kind of front run that signal a little bit, or adjust the moving averages, just depending on how you want to trade. So I can definitely forgive myself for being long in here. This has a lot of bullish sense to it. But once this broke down right here, everything changed. Once 0.03 broke down, now it started to sell off. And really, this reeks of a bull trap to me. It did break through the bear trend line that constituted the descending triangle, but there was no volume. Okay, I mean, no volume. You want to see some volume like this. No volume. And it created a lower high from here. Lower high, lower high, lower high, to the point where, I wonder if I can just leave them both in. We have a descending triangle inside of a descending triangle. Which kind of like seeing all the time frames line up with the moving averages and the trends. It is quite interesting seeing multiple bearish patterns lining up. Let's go ahead and put that back in. And yeah. Okay, so we see descending triangle, fake breakout, lower high, descending triangle. And look what we are doing right now. I mean, whew, today could be the day to sell this thing. And this is another thing that is very important for me and how I like to trade, in the sense that, so Bitcoin is in a position where I don't know what's going to happen. I just flat out don't. I have to wait for further development before I can have any sort of confidence to even give like a 51 or a 55% projection one way or the other. I feel it'd be irresponsible to do that right now because I just simply don't know. But just because that's the case doesn't mean that there isn't something else out there that's offering a great opportunity. And if there is something else out there that's offering a great opportunity, then that's where I want to be focusing on while I let Bitcoin or whatever else figure itself out. So if I can get myself into a nice short position here, then I'm going to be comfortable no matter what Bitcoin does. If Bitcoin goes down, this should go down. Over the past few weeks and month, as Bitcoin has gone up, this has gone down. If Bitcoin goes sideways and ETH USD smashes to 400, sure, this will go up, but there's nothing here telling me that that's what's going to happen. It could, but there's no reason for me to be overly concerned about that. We've got this daily is showing a full bearish trend, has been acting beautifully, created a lower high, sent the price right back down to horizontal. 4 hour, flipped back bearish, didn't really provide an entry. Kind of like I said, you sometimes almost have to be able to front run that sort of cross right here. Maybe it didn't get all the way back up there, but maybe you sold that right as it crossed. That would have been a good entry. Here I probably would have been waiting for a return to the 200. So haven't really gotten any entries, but could be very, very, very soon. Couple things that I'm going to be looking for: daily close below 0.025. That is a sell signal for me. Also interested in putting a stop market sell order at 0.0244. Right here is where, if we even get down there for a moment, we wouldn't need a close. If we just get down there for a moment, I would really expect the price to continue down. We've got this spike right, this wick right here, which appears to fail to give us any bounce. That's where I would be very comfortable with the stop loss on a long. And because I would be comfortable with a stop loss on a long there, I would also be comfortable with a stop market sell to enter or add as soon as that breaks down. Because I mean, this thing could move very fast. If this major area of support breaks down, it won't matter what Bitcoin's doing. If it's going up or down, people are going to be freaking out that are holding ETH. There's so many people that have been buying this area that if this breaks down, there's going to be so much selling pressure that I would have a high confidence target of 0.0075. That is based on prior horizontal support and resistance, and is basically right where it went to when it broke down its descending triangle in 2016. So being short ETH, if it closes below 0.025, is extremely interesting to me, and that could provide some other opportunities. If I am short ETH BTC with significant exposure, then I might be more comfortable adding to my BTC exposure because it would be hedged. I might also be comfortable adding to ETH USD long exposure because it would be hedged and both would be trading with the trend. I would be not only hedged, but would be expecting both to be profitable. So that's what I will be thinking about, and we'll be wrapping this up here very shortly. Just want to check in on our old friend XRP BTC, because it has recently done something very similar. And it could actually be a good opportunity to sell right now too, depending on how risky you are willing to be. So let's see, we had kind of just basically, it wasn't near as strong of a horizontal boundary on XRP as it was on ETH, because XRP broke this down in 2017, whereas ETH did not. So this is an even more important boundary on ETH, but just notice kind of the similar sort of structure. And The daily close below occurred right basically here on the 25th, and price sharply continued. Looks like it's ready to continue even more. And this is such a massive pattern it's been consolidating to. I mean, my mind would be blown if it isn't cut by about 10%, 90%, I mean to say, into 10% of its value. 400 sats is the next area of horizontal support after it broke down 4,000 sats. You could maybe give it 1250. Yeah, you could. But this is such a big pattern that I wouldn't be I would be looking down around the 400 Satoshi area. And that sure makes me wonder what in the world is going on with Litecoin. It is coming up to a halving. Everybody was super excited and it had a ton of momentum, and then it has just tanked, absolutely tanked over the last 3 weeks from about 0.0175. Now we're below 0.01. I mean, that is just, it doesn't make any sense to me. I really thought that we would go on to create a higher high leading into the halving based on this trend line. The last halving, it got all the way up here, 0.033. We had this beautiful Adam, Eve, and it was creating this cup and handle. I mean, it was the most confident I've been in a trade in a very, very long time. And out of nowhere, it just dumps, and it dumps. The USD pair has been dumping while Bitcoin has been rallying. It is mind-boggling to me, and could be a very, very strong indicator in the sense that the market cap dominance is at such a crucial area. Historically, the best alt seasons have occurred when Bitcoin was above 55% market cap dominance and in a bull market, which we got right here. And that's when all those alts, this is where I'm long in ETH BTC, LTC BTC, big positions. We're right in this setup where historically, at least since 2017, Bitcoin would be expected to come down at a minimum to like 50%, and really 40% would be the target. So right here, everything was lining up to long alts. The market cap dominance was at resistance, and alts were at support or breaking through or having already gained serious momentum. Right here, getting this higher low and now a higher high is so significant to me that just in the last 3 days or so, I have been very uninterested in longing alts, and I have been very interested in shorting them versus BTC. And this chart is the main reason why. And these last 3 candles are telling a very, very important story. We created a higher high. This pullback didn't really do anything, and now a new high locally. Man, this is very exciting. This could be sending us back to the 90% area, which would mean the next bull market in Bitcoin has way more upside than it would otherwise. And just kind of seeing that maybe we've got a bit of a parabola developing. Definitely not. Not quite. All right, so that will do it for me today. I'm going to wrap it up. It has been a pleasure going through some charts with everybody. Been pulling my hair out over here trying to figure out what in the world is going on. And I can't say with any degree of confidence for Bitcoin, but in terms of alts, it is starting to get very, very interesting. And the best situation that I can imagine is Bitcoin creating new all-time highs, and alts breaking down support, specifically ETH BTC breaking down 0.025. If it does that while Bitcoin is continuing to rally and the market cap dominance is continuing to break back through prior resistance, we could be in for a tremendous move to the upside, much more so than if the alts are going to be bogging us down. So it is definitely time to be paying very close attention, as is usually the case with Bitcoin. No rest for the wicked, I guess. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It's been a pleasure going over some charts with you guys. I hope that you're able to learn something. And as always, feel free to provide some feedback either in the comments or on Telegram. So tomorrow is Saturday. That will likely be my day off, unless things are just so crazy that I'm here all day at my computer. Then I'll probably do a show, but don't plan on Saturday being my day off. And thank you for tuning in. We'll plan on catching up with you for the weekly close on Sunday.